everybody.
Hi, we're Relationship Central.
Relationship Central, and this is our inaugural shoot. Is that the right word?
Yes,
Beginning?
I think so.
This is the incipient stages of what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Incipient, beginning.
Right, the beginning. Okay.
Okay, what we're beginning is our journey into our 30th year of being married. Yesterday we put out our first video on our 29th anniversary together as a couple.
Right.
And what we decided to do is to share our journey as to how we got this far and still are happy. You're happy, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, sure.
No.
I'm very happy.
Now, look, I know you're happy. All right. Now, this is how we are. Okay.
Right.
And
we play with each other a lot.
And that's because we are best friends, and so we do get along quite well. We do like to roll off of each other and play off of each other, and that's actually one of the ways we got so far in our relationship. How we got to this point in our relationship. We started out as friends, and we're friends yet today.
Right. So, I want to ask you a question, Gino.
Okay, go ahead, ask me.
And we were having this conversation the other day in the car.
Mm-hmm.
You said you thought about this character on Grey's Anatomy.
Right.
And in the show, the lady that was one of the chief staff surgeons,
right,
husband, her husband had cheated on her.
Right.
And it wasn't physical.
It wasn't physical.
It was emotional.
Correct.
So it was like emotional adultery, and they had a lot of problems in their marriage because of that. Right. And so my question to you today is, first of all, what is, let's call it emotional adultery. What is emotional adultery? And what is the problem with becoming too close to opposite sex person outside of your marriage, even if it's only a friend?
Okay. So
what's
emotional adultery? Now, it just so happened that I did find a study that they had asked 100 men why they cheated in a relationship. 47 of them said that their wives were not meeting their emotional needs. I believe...
Which I think is different than what a lot of people think.
Right.
A lot of people, I believe, think men just go after the tail.
Right.
You know, they just see a good-looking woman and they can't resist, and that's why they step outside of their marriage.
Well, sometimes that happens in a relationship. But, and ladies out there, even men, if you want to answer this or you have something to say about it, please respond. 47 of the men that cheated said their wives weren't meeting their emotional needs. Some women feel that they would almost rather, if the man's going to cheat, let it just be physical.
Okay.
Because if you share your emotions, now you're sharing your heart. You're sharing the weaknesses and the strengths of you as a person with someone other than your mate. And that can really hurt.
So it doesn't always have to do with how another woman looks. Because invariably what happens when a wife finds out her husband is messing around with another woman, or the first thing she wants to see is how she looks.
Yeah, right.
She wants to compare this woman to her.
Absolutely, yeah.
And a lot of times, I won't say a lot of times, I guess I don't have any statistics on this, but I've heard of this happening, that the woman doesn't look as good as the wife.
Exactly, and that's usually a telltale sign, of, well, what is it then? Right. If it ain't the looks, what is it?
Right.
It's because of how she makes him feel when he expresses himself, how she makes him feel as a man. Right. I've seen that in relationships with a woman that the guy is dealing with is absolutely drop dead gorgeous.
Right.
And still he's looking for something else.
Right.
And it's not always just the sex part of it. It's that part that he needs beyond the sex.
Because I've heard men say this, you've heard men say this. They see a guy that's left, say, somebody like a Haley Berry for another woman, or they don't want to be involved with the woman anymore. And the reaction is usually like, what? man, you crazy, you stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and all of that. You couldn't keep a woman that looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the emotional part of mankind is very important.
Yes.
In the marriage relationship and any man-woman relationship, because it is how you make me feel.
Mm-hmm.
If you make me feel like I'm gorgeous, like I'm the most beautiful woman in the world, that's sexy.
Sure.
That's awesome. That's
right.
attractive. Mm-hmm. And the same way for a woman.
Right.
How she makes the man feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're telling your man, hey baby, you still got it, you're still handsome, you're still pinching him and playing with him, and all of that, and you like that,
yeah,
and all of that, then that makes him feel like he is the greatest man in the world. Mm-hmm. Because he's the greatest to you.
Right. You know, let me interject this now. It's not always just on the woman part. There's a responsibility for the man. Have you ever wondered, and if you're one of these type, I'm not talking about you, but maybe you am. You see this drop dead gorgeous woman, and she's with this dude that's kind of like,
yeah.
How did he get her? I'm going to tell you how that happened. You ready? Sit down, relax.
Okay, don't drag it out.
Okay. It's how he treats her.
Yes.
It is.
That is.
It is how he treats that woman.
Yep.
It's how he got that gorgeous, beautiful woman. How he made her feel as a woman. How he's protecting her. How he's caring for her. How he projects care, love, concern, and security. Because a woman wants to be secure.
Right.
That's true.
So when we go back to the Grey's Anatomy example, okay, she wasn't paying any attention to her husband. So he found something elsewhere, a woman that would pay attention to him, even though he still loved his wife.
Right. The story went, he still loved his wife, but what had happened was because of her demanding job, she did not take the time to carve out a space for them so he can express his emotional needs. Because men have emotional needs, people. Okay, our society looks at emotional needs as weakness, but the fact is we're human and we have emotions. And if those things are not addressed, if they're ignored, if they're mistreated, and you wonder why the man's ready to run, that's one of the ways. That's one of the reasons, shall I say. Right. Now, a man has responsibility, and I think in a relationship, and this is why you become friends and you can talk things out, so you can get to all of those levels of communication so that when that need is there, and let me explain this to you. I gave a speech at Toastmasters. That's right, Toastmasters International. CUT, club number 3. Anyway, in the speech I said our society does not look kindly on men who show their emotions. But the thing is, when you get all of that out of you, you actually help your own health. So Donald Trump's going to live a very long time because he don't hold nothing back. I know that's not part of what we're talking about, but the point is, men need to express themselves and they need to have a safe haven, and the woman, the wife, the girlfriend needs to provide that safe haven where he can express himself fully, all of his faults, all of his weaknesses, the things that scare him, that makes him want to cry. And he is safe with expressing these things to her because she's not going to run and tell her best friend, she's not going to run and tell her sisters and her mama, and she's going to keep it, and she's not going to look at him any different than she did before he expressed it.
And that's the big one.
Yes.
Because no man wants to be looked down at.
Absolutely.
Men want to be admired.
Sure.
And no man wants to feel like his woman or his wife is looking down at him like a little boy. Exactly. Well, a lot of times when you cry and when you talk about things that scare you and bother you, it makes you feel vulnerable.
Sure. You're
in a vulnerable position. Not like Mr. Brown. Oh, it's so vulnerable. but you feel in a vulnerable position. Yes. And so there's a safety that has to be created in the relationship. So let me just say a little bit about how emotional adultery starts.